It's October the 8th, 2025, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I am Jarazar, a WoW esports aficionado.
Hey guys, it's Big Moran, and I am an add-ons enjoyer.
Hey, it's Tree Setup Jake, and sorry guys, I think the servers went down there for a second. I think they're a bit buggy. I'm back now.
Which is so funny because I was having that problem, which is why we're a little late starting, but that's okay. Everything seems to be getting a little buggy lately, guys. Hey?
Yeah, it's like, they try to fix like hunters and paladins, and then just the servers broke. I don't know, maybe someone's hacking.
It's the Cabal.
Yeah, the Cabal, they're striking back.
Oh, you can't nerf us.
Yeah.
Not not without some fight back.
Yeah, exactly. No one can nerf paladins without the servers dying. Such is it is written.
It is written. It's I wonder if that would ever happen, like, because we've heard about that before, where like some hardcore gamers they used to try to DDoS other players and do weird things to try to get that extra edge. And I wonder if anybody would try to do that, if they try to like DDoS the whole server because their favorite class got nerfed.
Well, the big one that always comes to mind for me was when Hydra had his account locked, which I don't know if or stolen. Sorry,
it was hacked. He had his account hacked.
Oh no, I missed that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
That's some old lore.
Yeah.
Lore. Wait. So okay, you're talking like way back. That's
yes.
Yeah, that's elitist jerks era, is what that is.
Yeah, it was. It's the one I always think about when it comes to people hacking stuff and everything. But I mean, honestly, if someone could hack the entire server, the entire WoW server, or servers in general, I would be incredibly impressed. Although maybe it's Blizzard themselves doing it.
Who knows? Maybe. I'm just reading in chat here. OceanX jumped in saying that apparently Nethi says that Ret's only being nerfed on their hero talents, so they just go to the other hero tree and they're still OP. So
yeah, that is. I've also seen that. The nice thing about sharing a Discord with some of the AWC competitors, they sometimes drop little tasty bits into the chat that others have been talking about in the on the tournament side of things. So yeah. I mean, that was always going to be the case. They never really nerfed anything too crazy with the rats. No. Like a lot of people aren't very happy with the new patch notes, but yeah, I think Disc got a 1% buff or something along those lines.
Yeah, Void Weaver Disc, I think, got a little bit buffed.
Yeah. Well, at first everybody was freaking out because they saw the fact that Void Weaver even got buffed, and they're like, it was the Atonement healing got buffed, and then they're like,
yeah,
the F, and then somebody mathed it out and they're like, it's like 1%. Calm down. And so, but yeah, I think everybody was kind of hoping to see a bit stronger. I'm honestly surprised that there was even like any PvP changes, because we're in the middle of AWC, right? Like
there was some, the MDI had some changes too. And I think they just did their time trials or whatever.
Yes,
I know they nerfed. They hit all of the flavor of the month specs in PvE. I think Frosty K, Marks or BM Hunter. I don't remember which one. Arcane Mage. So all the big hitters got like a 3% nerf or something.
But I mean, is 3% damage on an S plus tier really the end of days? I feel like that just kind of brings them back. Like, and some of those are still S tier. Like, it's just not S plus, right?
Yeah, I mean, the ret changes are really funny. Like, Blizzard could have probably gone a bit more aggressive with those, because as you mentioned, they could just like respec to the other hero talent and be completely fine. And I guess what Levelden was telling me is there was a typo on the patch notes where it said they were bug fixing the 2 set for ret for Herald of the Sun. It was actually the 4 set. So you could avoid one of those nerfs by just not using your 4 set too. It's kind of funny.
Are we now going to start seeing Rets wearing last season's a 2-piece? Is that what's gonna?
God,
I mean, the resto druids.
Right.
Well, I mean, let me. Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
No, honestly, I'm actually a bit. I want to hear what you have to say, Big, because if you're saying that there are resto druids still wearing their 2-piece from last season, then I'm actually going to lose my mind.
Yeah, there is this bug where resto druids were. Well, it wasn't necessarily a bug. It's just like there. I don't. Well, no, it definitely was a bug. The last season's 4 set could be bugged out with Soul of Forest because last season's 4 set would apply missing hots to the target. So if you have a Soul of Forest buff up, it was buffing those hots automatically, like without you even spending your proc. So basically, you could just do a lot of healing with last season's 4 set. I wanted to share with you some data that I found very funny.
Okay.
Because now, like, we've been collecting, or Brian at Skullcap's been collecting data on the ladder. You know, he has his own website now.
Yep.
And what's funny is if you look at the participation numbers for Ret Paladin from 1400 to 1699, it goes steeply down. So the numbers of Rets playing in that rating bracket like drops off a cliff. What that would suggest, and no other specs are like that, by the way. Most specs, like from 1400 to 1600, let's say rogues are 5% of the ladder at 1400, they're going to wind up being like 5% of participation at 1600.
Yeah.
So if participation is going down for a spec, that means that players aren't staying at that rating. So if you play Ret Paladin right now, it looks like your participation is going down because you're going way past that rating really quickly.
Yeah, you're leapfrogging that break point.
Yes. And so that happens until about 2K. So if you play Ret Paladin, there's a high chance you can just get 2K. Very high chance.
Or you had the chance.
Well, I mean,
you just swap hero talents and you're all good. That's fine.
Yeah, then you're good.
No sweat.
Yeah, exactly. Just to also talk about Resto Druid on the AWC Discord, there was some back and forth between some players because it was announced that they were only allowing players to use current tier set, and if anybody was caught using last season's gear, they'd be automatically disqualified. And there was some people that were pushing back on that, trying to find ways to still be able to use the old tier set. And it's like, anyway. How dare you, the night before you just told us, and it's like last week there was an announcement already about it saying like questions were asked and people said no. So yeah. I don't know. It's whatever. What's that?
I appreciate the tech. No, honestly, I appreciate the tech if they're actually able to use it. I feel like that's one of the things I feel like that was so cool back in the day, that people would use stuff from like last season, or like I remember like thinking when Rekful used the Warglaives, not that it was good tech, but just to show that actually like gear doesn't matter too much as skill. Even stuff like that was really cool to be able to demonstrate that, actually, what the game is a little bit more nuanced than it has become in recent years. And I think that's more, I guess that's kind of seen with the way that everyone's been going like High Mountain Tauren recently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Including me, because it's got like a Bull Rush, quite a cool racial to kind of get yourself out of stuff if you need. So I've been playing a lot of Warlock recently. So just trinketing bombs and then Bull Rushing out, or if I haven't got port or anything like that, like things like that, it's quite useful. But mostly it's the way that the damage reduction works with versatility. It's kind of weird. It's such a strange thing. I feel like you need someone with insane maths to ever figure this out, and I definitely do not have the time or the desire to sit down and figure that one out.
Well, I think it's super good for Warlock because you have a lot of stamina.
Yep.
And I think the Earthen Wall totem that High Mountain Tauren has is like around 10k damage reduction per hit as High Mountain Tauren, which is crazy. That's basically Earthen passively. So that's pretty nuts.
Yeah, it's a really cool bit of tech that I think, it's just kind of interesting, and it just makes the game more interesting. And I think we sort of lost it a little bit. Like, wow, retail at least sometimes feels like, everyone started complaining about the differences between specs and stuff like that, or differences between races and things adding extras. But actually, I kind of liked it. It adds some sort of nuance to the game where, someone's just developed some really cool tech.
Well, yeah, I think it's really cool that stuff is like still kind of being discovered, so to speak. Like this whole time, right? If you go on the WoW forums, you see people talking about racials. They're always complaining about Shadow Melt, right? Or Night Elf. But this whole time, or maybe not this whole time, I think they buffed racials for the other races like earlier in this expansion. I don't remember when. It's like, wow, there's some new tech that wasn't being utilized this whole time, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the High Mountain Torrents have been waiting with
waiting for this moment.
Yeah, there's one opportunity.
Well,
finally some validation.
Exactly.
We were talking this on the weekend in our little group chat, right? Big. We were talking about how many people are High Mountain, and really part of it is just where we are at the end of the season. The amount of versatility that's in the game right now is obscene. Like the stats that we're at are just so crazy that it makes it worth it. And I think, and then on the flip side, just today, Jake, you dropped that video of your friend with the triple Kyrian tech that they were running. Like, the only Shadow Priest running Kyrian and was just melting people. It's like,
yeah. It's that kind of stuff is really cool because, as I was saying as well, in that, so to give context to those listening at home, a guy that I queue with who actually was in the chat here, is a guy called Orcanax. He played triple Kyrian, I guess God comp, Shadow Priest Kyrian, Fire Mage Kyrian, and then a Holy Paladin Kyrian as well. And they would essentially one shot utilizing that Kyrian part because everyone was playing Night Fae on the Mage, or they were playing Ventfear to get mind games on the Shadow Priest. And yeah, they were good, but what was really cool is the way that the Kyrians interact with each other. They just absolutely obliterated people, and no one was playing this, and so they just shot up the ladder. Now, obviously, doesn't mean it didn't get stomped sometimes, but it's really cool when you see them absolutely just completely 100 to 0, and they're the only people playing it on the ladder. And I think that's cool. That kind of stuff is really fun.
No, it definitely is cool. I was watching the video and I just started chuckling. I was like, oh man.
There's two. Yeah. There's two videos. It's not it's just that one. There's another one as well, but like it's that kind of stuff. Like I remember making a video of when I played Enhance in Shadowlands as well. And I remember one-shotting Cervantes and being like, yeah, cool, this is sick. Because you kind of figure out what works. And that's a really good feeling, but don't get that as much anymore in the game. I think it's because too much of it has become PvE, so you feel like you just get PvE down. Like it's not like necessarily a one-shot mechanic. Oh, I could have lived. It's just like I'm getting training dummied into the floor.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The homogenization definitely has hurt the game. There's not stuff that feels overly special. So when we do find those little tricks, then it's kind of cool. I think the part that always is annoying is when somebody finds a little trick that there's no counter to. So if it's counterable some of the time, then I guess it's okay. But when it's like super cheesy and you can't counter it ever, just what was it was like the double rogue. Rogues would go in stealth, and then they would just, I think it had a stacking buff. Remember? And then they just wait till like minute 9 of the 2s, and then they just one shot somebody. Because
they didn't even need to wait and there was like this rogue build with like this legendary for a while at the beginning of expansion where they would just one shot you out of stealth, double rogue. Speaking, by the way, of people who experiment with cool, fun builds, there's that guy, I believe he's a EU player named Rednex. He's always streaming, playing like goofy builds and stuff. Like that BM Hunter Bleed Fenrir thing that people have been complaining about. His stream was the first stream I saw it like absolutely crank someone on because he was running like a full mastery BM Hunter. And people normally stack haste on BM, and I've never seen someone do that much damage as he did with the Fenrir proc. And so I don't know, people like that, it's kind of cool. Like they always, it's funny. Like I've talked to Jax about this. Like rank 1 players sometimes think they know it all, you know, like, they have the game figured out. Yeah. But then it's like usually some random person. I mean, no offense to your friend Jake, but I'll call him a random person for now, who just like has this like really cool build, and it's like absolutely insane. And then people wind up copying that, you know.
I think that the issue was that no one wanted to copy it. That's it. They tried in season 3 and no one wanted to do it. But yeah, and it's true. I mean, it's just, I think we've talked about this many times with the rise of YouTube access. And I feel like this happened I know it's been around for a while, but I do genuinely feel like BFA post-COVID is when we've had so much more access to YouTube content. A lot of people went into content creation. A lot of people started making content for it. And because of that access, all the builds are already discovered. So everyone kind of does cookie cutter stuff more than they ever used to. So when you do find something that's kind of unique, unless you're posting about it on sort of like social media, you're never ever going to get what's the kind of word? I guess the kind of spotlight that other specs and other comps get, because they're just so prevalent. I think it's interesting.
Almost makes me think of like, you know, the assumption that there's going to be some person in some garage somewhere, unheard of person who's going to engineer and create a cold fusion nuclear reactor or something like that, and save the world energy crisis, you know, versus, and I feel like it's based off of the same idea. Like, you know, it was some person who sat in a garage and built, you know, is going to build some sort of computer, or it's like a supercomputer, the size of a cardboard box, or, you know, the person who's going to, you know, cure cancer or something like that, because there's some person who is sitting at home right now, you know, a 14-year-old child who is going to program the next super AI, because they just have, you know, they're super into programming, and they find the ability to do it. Meanwhile, the rest of us, like, we're just, you know, trying to team up together and try to figure it out. But of course, I guess that's the thing. Like, when you have a group of people, you know, eventually somebody has to be the leader, and everybody else is the follower. So you follow the leader, and hopefully they're right. So,
I guess in a way, it's kind of like this is a slightly weird analogy, but the kind of almost. Well, Tony Stark built it in an Afghan prison kind of thing.
In a cave,
in a cave with limited parts. Like, that's kind of the thing. It's sort of, there's these people that just, you have no idea, but they're kind of cool. They've got some really interesting ideas that are just existing on the fringe. And maybe if, you know, other people had that kind of insight, they'd be able to do it. But again, it's just visibility. And as you kind of talked about a little bit, perception is the idea that we listen to what all the rank ones say about things, but actually there's some cool tech if you just figure it out by yourself.
Well, exactly. And I think that's the other thing. Like, for myself, I really wanted to talk about perception today, because when I was playing AWC, so Cup 1, we made a team, 4 of us. It was Gregors, Toady, myself, and Big. Big, you weren't able to make it, which was kind of sad, but we were able to carry you anyways. And so while we're waiting for the bracket to come up and waiting for queues to load up, Toady was talking about how he PvP'd in that before, but he never thought that he was gladiator material, really, because he had this, you know, kind of perception that that was just too far to go. He would never make it there, that he didn't have the ability for it. And then he ended up getting into remember the BG Blitz content creator thing, little exposition that they did where they grouped us, they got a few people. I guess he ended up on that, and he just did really well. And so afterwards, some people were like, hey, and so then he ended up making some connections, and out of that got some very pointed help in some VOD reviews showing him some of the things, and just like took him to that next level. So it's not like he had I guess it's not that he just had the ability, he just didn't apply it. Like, there was some assistance there, but clearly he had enough ability that people saw and were like, we want to help you achieve that next goal. And so now he's gotten some glad achievements in that, and throughout that also made the connections with the necessary people that would team up with him to be able to do that as well, which I think is awesome. And I was just thinking, like, for myself, how much actually, I want to say I don't have the ability. I know that. Like, I still tunnel vision on the UI, so I know I don't have the ability to see enough things to be able to fight stuff and get that level. But I'm just kind of wondering, like, for yourselves, have you ever felt that where you're like, you had the perception where, you know, that milestone was just too far, that you just wouldn't be able to make that milestone because, you know, you felt your capability or ability wasn't there?
I can definitely speak for myself and say I think I have never been as good as two periods, I think, in my life at WoW. First one was during COVID, when I literally played WoW. I did PvP, I did arena 10 hours a day, all day. 10 hours a day, all week, just spamming it. And I came out of the back of that, you know, at 2-4 plus, like almost getting Gladiator, that kind of stuff. Like, I've never been as good as that period. The other one was Dragonflight Season 1, where, again, I had a gratuitous amount of time and got my 3.1 in solo shuffle on Warlock. And it's like, those periods of my time, I remember, I just had all the time in the world to just queue. And I think nowadays I just kind of have to recognize my expectations of, actually, you know, I can't just go out there and absolutely style on people, because I just don't have the same game sense anymore, because I don't have the ability to queue all the time. And I think something that we don't realize is that there are people that that can maintain it throughout, where they don't play that much and they still are very, very good at what they do. But some people just need to play a lot to just get their muscle memory up and everything. And it's about understanding, you know what, I'm not going to be as good as I was, you know, sort of 5 years ago, 3 years ago, even last week. If you just don't have the time to set it in, then sadly it's one of those games that just that just works like that. So for me, yeah, there is I definitely understand when I can't attain those goals. But I do think solo shuffle is very good for helping people actually kind of go, you know what, I don't have time to Q3s, but I could just queue up a solo shuffle and push there if I want to.
Yeah, I think there's something democratizing about solo shuffle that a lot of people don't understand or ignore, because from my personal experience, like when I was coming up in this game, which, and it was a very long come up, like I was in high school during TBC and Wrath of the Lich King, and I was just playing with friends from my high school. You know, those were my arena partners. And you know, maybe we got 2K rating or something, 2.2 or something. But, you know, I didn't really have any high aspirations, because I didn't really know where I was, so to speak, on the totem pole. Like, of course, I knew about Gladiator, I knew about rank 1 and all these things. But I never knew what like a Gladiator player was like, or what a rank 1 player was like. And it wasn't until I like transferred servers and started playing on a big PvP hub at the time, which was Mal'Ganis, that you kind of like see for yourself what a rank 1 player is like, or you see for yourself what a Gladiator player is like. And then you're kind of like on that progression track, or at least you can feel it. And then I think this is going to sound maybe a bit ego for me to say this, but I think a very cool experience for me was realizing that like Gladiator players weren't that much better than me, and maybe not better than me at all. Like, even when I wasn't a Gladiator, I had this realization. Like, I was playing against these people in arena. They're not doing anything like extra spectacular. So yeah, and then, you know, I think for a lot of players back then, you just had to get lucky. And maybe that sounds like a cop out, but you had to just kind of be in the right place at the right time, talk to the right people, and your potential could be realized. And the reason I think the solo shuffle is so cool is because you don't need to go through that process anymore. Like, if you're a good player, you'll get rewarded in solo shuffle. You know, you don't need to get lucky. You don't need to go through these growing pains as a player as much.
Fair.
I think that's a very astute point, because like I think a good example of that is, look at Nethy. Nethy is a good example of someone that literally just came up through Solo Shuffle.
Yep.
So I think there is a lot to be learned from, like, just, if you want to get in, if you want to break into that scene, actually just maybe don't worry about it.
Yeah. And as far as perception goes, I mean, it is kind of hard to know your skill level as a player. Like to know your true skill level. I wish there was a really easy way of doing it. Like maybe if there's an AI tool that could analyze your game. But I wish there was some way to demonstrate skill that wasn't necessarily tied to arena rating, because I do think there's a lot of untapped potential. Like a really good example, I think, in the past 5 years is a player like Calvish. Like Calvish was this young kid, fan of Zaryu, who made these kind of cringy PvP videos, but he was an insanely good rogue,
Yeah.
And I think he was in the right place at the right time, where he was able to, someone saw his video, realized this kid is really good, and they played with him. So yeah, I think Calvish is like a perfect example that there's a lot of untapped potential in this game.
I agree. I want to counter that. Looking at it from a different aspect is the perception that the community has on things. Because I think this is what Solo Shuffle really brings into play, is if somebody's playing, let's say, a non-S tier, or their spec would only really work in certain quirky threes comps. So that person's going to sit in LFG for hours waiting until they can finally get a game. And then they might get like 2 games in before something, there's a loss and that, their team falls apart or whatever. Whereas now in Solo Shuffle, they can just queue and have fun. And sometimes, like, maybe they only have that one comp, but they still get some success out of that. They're not just sitting in LFG for a day and not getting any games. They're still getting games. Some win, some loss, but I think that's one thing the Solo Shuffle has provided, is people that want to play a non-typical spec, or a lower, maybe like a B tier on some tier list, but and going back to, again, thinking about what rank, how much weight we give to rank ones. When some player let's say Sidu would make a tier list, and if he suddenly said that he thought that Frost Mages were B tier, the next day there wouldn't be a Frost Mage that would be able to get a game in, because unless they had friends, because they, everybody's like, oh, you're a Frost Mage. If you're not a Fire Mage, then you're nothing, and we can't group with you, because they could just sit and find a Fire Mage, right, or somebody that's willing to change. And I think that is something else in the perception side, is not just our own perception of ability, but our the community's perception of certain the abilities of certain classes and specs, whether they're good or not. Like I can't imagine that a Mistweaver is able to get games just by sitting in LFG and trying to find teammates right now. They would be able to in Solo Shuffle, but there's no way in LFG.
Well, Mistweavers are buffed, and I've played with one today, and they are actually pretty good.
Okay, so they're back. But okay,
there's this weird perception I've noticed in the WoW community is that if something is not S tier, then people think it's like bad or something. People focus on what's broken, and they usually compare their own class to whatever is broken. And I just think that's a really bad way to think about your class, because I do think there is room for, I think Blizzard has done a pretty good job at, and people might hate me for this, but I think Blizzard has done a fairly good job in the recent expansions of making every spec at least feel viable in some form of arena. Like I wouldn't ever expect an Ellie Shaman to feel that great in 2v2, but I mean, it doesn't mean it can't work. But at least in 3v3 and Solo Shuffle, like everyone kind of has a fair shot. Now, of course, I think there are the weaknesses of classes, I think, really come out at the highest ratings. But unless you're playing at that like rank 1 or AWC, or potentially lower at like a gladiator level, like you're probably not necessarily going to be super held back by your class. I mean, of course, if you were to play like a easy broken class, it might, feel easy and broken to climb. But I think a lot of the nuanced weaknesses only apply really, at the highest end of the ladder.
Yeah, I think I felt that before, where there's to the amount of struggle, the amount of effort you have to put in to win versus the reward. So I think that, and maybe that's really where it comes from, is if I have the choice of playing a class where after I push 3 buttons, something dies and I feel rewarded by that, versus another class where I have to push 8 buttons and I have to line it up perfectly for that same thing to die. It's like, sure, I feel rewarded when the thing dies, but the amount of work and effort is just so much more than that. It kind of takes away from the win. And I think that makes sense. I get it. But at the same time, I mean, if you love that class that you have to push 8 buttons and you love that, then cool, have fun. I can see the reason why people put down, whatever that that spec. I do like the fact that I can hop, I can switch my demon over to vengeance and run around in solo shuffle as a tank, and nobody really has a choice about it.
Yeah. I think personally, I like playing these like underdog specs, or these specs that are just a bit more challenging. It is fun to play a 1-button class, right? Mm-hmm. Like I want to maybe by the end of this expansion, I'll do the unthinkable and I'll level a BM hunter and play a BM hunter for a while, just because it's kind of fun to play those like hands-off keyboard type specs. It's like, this is nice. No wonder people reroll red, right? It's broken and it's easy. You don't have to think too much.
So it's funny, after we finished the bracket and we lost out of AWC, Toady and Gregors and I all got onto our live and just played a few games for funsies. And so I picked up my Demon Hunter and I have it right now set up with the 1 button, the single rotation that I just hit in the 1 button. And we actually won some games, and I was out DPSing some of the enemies.
Yeah, I swear that 1 button rotation is pretty fun.
Yeah. I will admit, Toady was playing an outlaw rogue and he was locking down some players, so they were probably yelling because they weren't able to DPS because they couldn't push a button. But I out DPS some people.
Very nice.
Truly 1 button spec. I don't know. So how can we fix perception though? Like, this is a normal human trait. Like, how do you overcome your perception that you're not good enough, and how do we overcome the community's perception, whether something is good or bad or broken or worthwhile?
I have a controversial answer to the first part of that question.
Go for it.
The first part of that question: how do you convince yourself to be more confident? And that's like to gaslight yourself. I swear to God, that's the most effective strategy in climbing in PvP. Convince yourself that you're the best. And a lot of this sounds like I'm just being facetious here and speaking out of my ass, but I swear this is something that a lot of rank 1 players do. They convince themselves that they are the best player, and of course they're very good, but that's their framework. And I think that's a very effective way to climb rating in this game. Maybe it sounds like it would lead to some delusions, but I think if you can play with confidence all the time, you're probably going to hit your goals at some point.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense, because if you're not second guessing yourself and just queuing, then you should inherently hopefully improve.
Yep.
How do we, Jake? How do we fix community's perception? Make everybody listen to us.
Honestly, I think if every single person was able to just watch the Technically PvP stream, I think the problem would be solved. How do you fix? It's a very good question. I don't know is the answer.
I don't think you can fix community perception on things without, like, I don't know. Like,
no, you definitely can't.
Yeah.
It's the thing is that is actually the problem. The problem more to do with us being that sort of kind of community more than anything. I think that's just the sad truth of it all is that we are just one of those kind of game communities that just is so up ourselves and a bit arrogant. And I just think that's sadly, it's just kind of how we've made ourselves at the end of the day. I think we've just been so abused by stuff over the years that we've just become so jaded.
Also, I think that like WoW itself has a tendency to make you feel like you're the main character, and gives you a main character syndrome. And I think that's probably true with a lot of MMOs. Like I think WoW is different than other games because we have a deep attachment to our characters. Like in Counter-Strike, I don't think anyone has like an attachment to their gun. Like I don't know, like in the same way that WoW players have an attachment to their class. So I do think that we kind of we are the gods of our own religion in WoW, and we're the kings of our own kingdom, and we're convinced that everyone else is out to get us.
Yeah, I think
valid.
part of it's also. Sorry, Jake. Sorry, what was that?
No, I was just saying that's very valid.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I also think that, let's be honest, we're talking about the competitive side of an MMO. So on top of everybody having God complex and thinking that they're the maker or the unmaker of the world and doing the work of gods, we're also in the competitive mode of trying, to overcome those other people to become the top of the ladder, or you have to get over that. You have to kill that player that's 1800 so you can get their 1800 ratings, so you can get the transmog you wanted, or like you said, even like if you think you're the best and somebody else is number one on the ladder, you have to take them out of that spot. And so there is that competitiveness, and the only way to get there is to do it with not only skill, but there's so many different factors in this game. There's the skill of the player, yourself. There's a skill of all the other players you're playing with and against. There's the, are you running full mastery? Are you running some sort of crit haste? Are you running, haste versatility, like all these different possibilities? And if you don't have the time or the capability to do all the number crunching and figure out those nuances, chances are you're probably copying and pasting from somebody who's doing all the theory crafting because they ran some sims and said XYZ. So I don't know. I think it's hard with a game that's this complex. I don't know.
It is, really and it's it's an old game. I think people kind of forget how old WoW is. Like if you were ask anyone to remember what you're doing in 2004, I don't think anyone could really tell you what they were doing in 2004. And for a lot of people, that's when the game came out. That's when they first started playing this game. The game is older than quite a lot of people, and it's kind of nuts how old it is. And I think WoW PvP specifically, from TBC, from that first expansion, although it existed beforehand, Arena specifically existed, from 2007. So it's quite an interesting kind of topic to be like, could we ever change how people view stuff? And I don't think it ever will be. Like, it will always be the same. People will always go, actually, WoW is dead, WoW is dying, even when it isn't, because that's what we've kind of been led to believe over the years. I think at some point we're going to be less jaded. We are going to come out of it. We are going to change our minds. And I think the only time where I think that will happen is when Blizzard really opens up to the community a lot more. I think a good example of that is what happened with Mop Classic. If you look at the way that the devs went there, everything was really, really good, and everyone really appreciated the communication. It's just a shame that Mop wasn't as popular, maybe as retail is, or other aspects of the game. If we had a sort of, if the perception of the game was that the devs really care about Arena, they really care about Arena because they recognize it's a really cool aspect of the game, that it's like a USP to WoW that is obviously full of other USPs, but it is a specific USP that could put them on a global scale like it used to be, then I think everyone would have so much more faith. Like, yeah, WoW's a great game, and it would get the support and love it needs. But I don't think unless Blizzard do that, then that's never going to happen.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
As depressing as it sounds.
Yeah,
no,
way to bring us down, man. Sheesh.
Sorry. The positive light is that it's the community that makes it. Obviously, the WoW community does make it, but I think the realism of the situation is that until we as a community can convince Blizzard to give more of a care about the PvP scene, then I think it's going to. I think a good example of how they've gone into sort of, what's the word? Sort of kind of backseat mode when it comes to the current iteration of the game is you look at the patch notes. The patch notes are so dire. But before, when they cared about the game's release and everything, all the devs are working super hard at getting patch notes out and dealing with some nerfs and getting some buffs and stuff. And it doesn't take weeks. It took like or months. Sorry, it took like a couple of weeks, and then we've got some really good solid set of notes here that's going to make the game a lot better. But they just haven't. They've kind of like band-aid fixed a lot of things. And I think that's a shame, and people recognize it, and it makes them kind of a bit sad. They don't enjoy the game.
I think WoW is so different now. The way someone described WoW to me recently made a lot of sense. It's like a theme park on wheels. I think that's the word they used to describe it. Where, so think about these .5 patches that have been released in the past few expansions. So right now we have the Legion remix. Before we had early in this expansion, we had the event that had the corruptions again. Remember the last season? And then there's been other like little mini events like this. Whereas like, I think Blizzard's focus is these days on providing players with like smaller bite-sized experiences that are kind of like you just play through them as if it's you're on a theme park on wheels, like you're Jurassic Park, like you're a passenger going through the forms of entertainment. Whereas I think back in the day, like the game was a bit more sandboxy, so I think they had to really nail these big patches, and I think the reason why patches these days don't maybe feel as interesting is because we get a lot of like smaller experiences these days. It's not these like big sweeping like game defining patches. It's kind of like more this gradual progression system with like some entertainment thrown into the mix. I'm not saying like one is better than the other. Like I think there's a place for both. Like I can understand why they have this new approach to WoW. Like they want to kind of keep people interested in the game, because I think the way people play games these days is a lot different than how they used to play back in the day. Right? Totally. Like, so, people want to only commit like an hour a day. Well, it's like, it's hard to do that if you have this like super sandbox game of the past. So you need to give people, I think, these bite-sized experiences. But I do think I do have some nostalgia for the past and how things were. It's just, I think Pandora's box is open, right? We're in a different game environment these days.
Absolutely. Yeah. One last question, and I want to hear your. I know what my thoughts are. I want to say them, but I want to hear your thoughts as well. But for perception of achievement, so there's conversation I've had before. Again, if anybody follows on X, you would have seen this. But the question of is rank one, or let's talk rank one stuff. So is rank 1 3s better than rank 1 2s, better than rank 1 solo shuffle, better than rank 1 BG blitz, and better than mythic plus rank 1 or legendary? Like, so I honestly I think that any of those, making the rank 1, that top tier, that 0.5% of everybody that's playing in that bracket, if you've done that, like, hats off to you. That's amazing. And I think each one of those deserves, I would say, an equal amount of respect. But I'm kind of curious. Actually, I want to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, so I actually kind of just made a video addressing this, where
Of course you did.
3v3 is like the de facto prestigious bracket simply because rewards were taken from 2v2. Like there was a period of time where people really cared about 2v2 and 5v5. But then when rewards were removed from that bracket, people sort of thought, well, 2v2, it's like, it's so funny. It's like, well, one day there's rewards in 2v2, the next there's none. And then people's entire perception of the bracket changed. Like, oh, 2v2 is an unbalanced mess, yada, yada, yada. So I think just like the reward structure convinces people that 3v3 is the most prestigious. But I mean, I agree that like if you're rank 1 in any bracket, I think that's like impressive. Like, and it could even be if you're like the rank 1 level 19 hunter, like that's cool. Like, like if you can be the best at something, that's, be proud of that. And I agree, it's kind of cringy when people try to bring each other down because of like achievements and whatnot. Like, who cares, bro?
I will say, I think the reason why there was a bit of a light switch moment there from 2s to 3s is when Blizzard themselves said, we think 3s is the pinnacle and we're going to balance around that. And then that's where we're going to put our rewards. And I think that's when everybody went, okay, 3s is the only thing that's good. Everybody else is poop. Because Blizzard said. Which
Blizzard did say.
What's that, Jake?
No, I said Blizzard did say, sorry. I don't know. Maybe I leant back in my chair as I said it, sort of like depressed, dismissively.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess I'll say my piece then. I think honestly, it just boils down to the same story, which is that is PvP more competitive than PvE? Are the titles from PvP more valuable than those of PvE? And I think regardless of whether you take it at rank 1 or you take it at the bottom, it doesn't matter. The point is that it will always boil down to this versus that. And realistically, if you get a rank 1 in any place, that's pretty damn cool. And I think that's the safe. You get it in shuffle, still cool. Like you were rank 1, like you were the top like 1 or 2 people of a spec in solo shuffle. That's pretty cool to me. I think that's that almost in a way is kind of more recognizable of your ability on that specific spec. And then obviously, 3s is the best player, one of the best players, and I think it's cool.
I also think WoW doesn't do a great job at sort of telling players where they're at. Like they give them a rating, but that rating doesn't really mean anything unless you can contextualize it. Like I'm staring at the rating distribution for every player on the solo shuffle ladder. And right now, if you are 1800 rated in solo shuffle, you're in the top 30% roughly. Or maybe it's the top 20. Okay. So if you're 1800, you're in the top 20%. That's pretty impressive. Like you're in a room full of 100 people, you're going to be better than 80 of those people. Like that's pretty good, right? So I think WoW doesn't really do a good job of communicating that sort of data to you.
No.
I think if players knew that data, maybe their perception on prestige would change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I remember it very, very vividly when Rookie once said it. I think I was either a stream or a YouTube video, and he goes, oh wait, hold on, 1500 during this. I think this was Shadowlands. He's like 1500 in this. Oh, I think that's like top. That's like top 30% or something like that. And everyone was like, no way. There's absolutely no way that 1500 is top 30% at the minute. And he looked it up and it actually was. It might be 1800, like the top 20% or top like 5% or something like that. But it was wild how like deflated the season was. And just kind of our perception of what 1500 means. Like, if you go into any AWC chat, it's kind of like there's the memes of, only speak if you're like 1500 or above, in brackets, high rating. And obviously that perception in that instance is that, that's a joke. But actually a lot of the time, 1600 to 1800 is actually quite high up. And in fact, you're more likely at 1800 to 1900 to queue into gladiator players and rank 1s than you are, anywhere like any higher up. So it's kind of all a bit of a misconception, really. At the end of the day,
yeah. And to be honest, anybody that's like Gladiator or rank 1, chances are you're probably going to run into them at any time in the day at any bracket level, because either they're on an alt and meming, they're maybe they're doing some carries for some easy gold, or maybe they they want to slum it with the lower brackets before they hop back on their main tune and have some fun at the higher levels, right? So doesn't have to be you don't even have to be near the 2K. You can be down at the 1500 and still playing against rank 1s for all you know. I just want quick shout out to Entice. It's just first time chat. He said while add-ons and weak cores are a massive barrier to entry, he would argue that the player base is just as much of a barrier. And then I totally agree. I
want to talk about add-ons next time. I have some thoughts. Yes. I have some gripes.
Well, we should do, because obviously in Midnight they're going. Well, a lot of them are. Some things are.
We don't know that yet.
Would you say that some of the add-ons are going dark in Midnight?
Oh, yeah. It's the Twilight Hour.
That was a dad joke. That was a classic.
The Papa joke, indeed.
Wait, what can I say? I'm a dad.
Yep.
Absolutely. I want to talk about Midnight again. There's so much more information coming out now that we have the alpha. There's a bunch more information coming out. They just dropped bunch of development notes, so we still have to chew through those. A whole bunch of new abilities. I don't know how they're going to do all this and balance it all. Like we'll see. I'm a little nervous, but while we're nervous, do we want to, I know we started late, guys. Do we want to do the one thing you changed, or do you just want to roll out to the shout outs and
we can do the one thing.
The one thing? All right. Yeah. All right. How about this? What's one thing you would change about Perception, Jake?
One thing I'd change about Perception. I would change Blizzard's perception on WoW PvP not being a really great opportunity to develop esports. That's what I would do, because I think they really missed it. They missed the trick back in the day to develop it into a major esports thing, and I think they should have done. I would change that perception for them.
I love it. Big.
I want to change the perception of add-on haters who say that add-ons play the game for you. I understand where they're coming from, but next time we'll discuss where that is wrong.
I love it.
Giant dunk for next time.
I want there to be something that they can do. Again, like go into that whole, like lean into the AI thing, like have something that will help a player understand or get a more concrete perception of their capability and ability. So if they're doing something right, that they know they're doing something right, and if they're doing something that they can do better, that they're doing something better, or how to do it better. And I think that would greatly increase some people's gameplay. Like, don't stand on the flag in a map. Stand over to the side so the rogue can't sap you and then cap immediately, but have to travel, 20 yards before they can click the damn flag. How about that for...
I'm gonna borrow this idea from a Max stream recently where he's talking to the add-on people. Mm-hmm. What if there is a Clippy, like the Microsoft Clippy in WoW, who's like, maybe you shouldn't be standing here, go there, like give you advice.
Totally. Have a little, maybe like a little globule of water with a goldfish in it that's telling you, telling you what to do. That'd be awesome. Anyways, okay. Shout outs. Jake, I'm going to go to you first. I always keep going to big.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just going to shout out to Organax for providing me with some good entertainment today with his Shadow Land one shots.
Yes. Very cool. No, I duplicate that. Thank you. That was a funny meme video to watch. Mm-hmm. Big. How about you?
Shout out to the AWC team named Cats and Dogs. who placed third. My friends, Jax and Awaken. They're probably practicing right now, and they'll be competing in this week's AWC as well. So cheer on cats and dogs.
They're actually probably competing right now because the second cup bracket's going on right now.
Is it? I thought. Oh, it's Wednesday. I am on. Okay, my perception of time is completely screwed.
Yeah, no, they should be competing right now. And I want to give a shout out to Toady and Gregors for tagging along with me to the AWC, earning the banner and having a fun time doing it. It was a gas. Absolutely love that. So, all right, let's close this out. Where can the good people of Azeroth find us?
Oh, that's my cue. Okay. If you want to find us, you can, well, please don't find me, but you can contact us directly at X at technically_PvP or on Blue Sky at technicallypvp.bluesky.social or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on the Bonus Roll Productions Discord.
And you can visit the Bonus Roll website to find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows at www.bonusroll.gg. This directory also has a review system, so you can head on over there and tell everyone what you think of your favorite shows, including our own.
Indeed. And you'll probably links for where you can find us will be in the show notes, and anything else that I happen to think is kind of cool and should be in the show notes. But in the meantime, I want to thank you all for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.